You know, some people enjoy composing their own music, chord by chord, and others are happiest when they come across that one perfect song. Work is not a lot different than that. Whether you prefer building your own workflow or using a pre-made template, with Monday.com, you and the team can work in a way that's comfortable for everyone. Tap the banner to go to Monday.com and build your own amazing workflow, or find an awesome template. No judgment.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for Season 13, Episode 8, titled Social Media, the Unverified Rusical. My name is Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by one bellicose co-host. From the podcast pod is my co-pilot. Please say...
You don't know how to dance.
To Taylor... to Taylor... the Latte Boy. Hello, Taylor the Latte Boy.
How very dare you? I know how to dance.
Yeah, you know what? I've never seen you dance.
Well, there's
music right now. There's music playing right now. Oh, yeah.
White man's over my dance.
Just really quickly, let's get this out of the way. We just had a very interesting conversation about what a liar Taylor was over at Patreon. We have a segment called Just Between Us Girls. Okay?
That no one hears but us.
Oh, yeah. And where we talk about what's going on in our life. It's just us warming up for the show. But people seem to like that. Last week, someone was like, we're Just Between Us Girls! It's not out! I'm like, it comes out at Sundays at noon. Calm down, State of Bree. Anyway, but if you want to hear that, go to patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia and join at the premium level, and you can hear that. By the way, and this is the first time anyone's going to know this, exclusive tiers about to get something very exclusive very, very soon. And it's so good. We've been taping it for a while, and they're going to be so excited. They don't know. I was just saying, I like to do things in secret now. That's what gets my, adrenaline going now, is knowing there's secret shows that are dropping. Yeah, secret shows that are going to drop. So it's so exciting what's been going on. My boyfriend gets to hear previews of them. He gets to hear it early, and he loves it. He says, he goes, I think this is one of the best things you guys have ever done.
I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. He says it might be just as good as when you and Taylor did season 6. And I was like, wow.
Really?
Yes. That's what he says. I don't know if it's true. That's just his opinion. He loves our season 6, which, by the way, is available on the public feed if you want to go hear it. He loves season 9 as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I will have to go back at some point when I am not... I have over 200 episodes of podcasts to go through.
Yeah.
But at some point, I'm saving all of the season 5s that are being released right now. And at some point, I will have to go back and listen to all the old seasons, like All Stars 2, I thought was a good season for us. And 9 and everything. So yeah, that'll have to be fun. That's the beauty of podcasts, is you go back and listen to stuff as many times as you like.
All right, enough, Taylor. Patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. All right, this week, the queens sing and dance a social media-themed Rusical. Rosé rises above the competition and pulls out a win while Candy Muse and Simone sink to the bottom. After a lip-sync battle for their lives, Simone is told Shantae, you stay, while Candy Muse is asked to sashay away. But just as Candy is about to leave the stage, RuPaul saves her and orders her to stay. Taylor the Latte Boy named 2 things you liked about the episode and 1 thing you did not.
Well, let's see. 2 things that I liked about the episode was, excuse me, I liked the segment with Anne Hathaway. I thought that was fun. I thought that was an interesting way to do that, and also something that I would like to see them do with other celebrities in the future. Whether we go back to...
I'd like to see the Lisa Kudrow or Nancy Pelosi or Moby, That would be really great. They should do those people.
Okay, but this was a little different in which they all got to have quality time with her and they all got to ask questions.
Yeah.
And I get that she wasn't able, she had to come in remotely because of COVID and everything. But if they did something like that where it made sense versus just Nancy Pelosi, like thanking the queens for being there and then looking like she didn't know where she was, or, you know, Lisa Kudrow coming in and just doing the hello, that was dumb. That didn't make any sense. This to me made sense. She gave them information, particularly that Denali was able to use to have what was obviously a very successful performance in the Rusical. Something else that I surprisingly liked when I heard that the theme for the runway was yellow. Yellow is my least favorite color of all of the main colors of the rainbow. And I loved this runway. I thought just about everybody had really strong looks in various different ways. The thing I did not like was this Rusical was wretched. This Rusical was horrible, and it was boring, and I couldn't understand most of what they were saying, and the sound quality was off, and it was just, of all of the topics they could have done for a Rusical, this one was stupid. What about you?
Two things I liked. One, as I've made known before, so maybe I'm cheating by saying I like this. I love this Jamal Sims as a coach, as a guest judge. I think he is so good, right? I love Jamal Sims. Okay, great, great, fantastic. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It should always be Jamal Sims. Okay?
Yeah, and I feel like the comment that, who was it that talked about, that talked about the fact that they did as well as they did because Jamal was such a great instructor?
Yeah, they said about, and they talked about how, like, when you couldn't do things, he would find a way to, I don't remember who it was, but yes.
I feel like that might have been shade towards he who is not named.
Well, he's not named because you have to be out of here at 1. And I would go on a 45-minute rant about this Tantric Hall and what a horrible human being he is.
Right. I will say, okay, real quick. Tappy, my co-host on Pod as my co-pilot, was looking to get a cameo for her daughter for her birthday. And it was between Miss J from America's Next Top Model. And she's like, I'm thinking about either getting him or Todrick Hall. And I went, no, do not give Todrick Hall money. And I explained all of the situation to her, and she was like, thank you for letting me know that. So we saved Todrick Hall from getting a little bit of some podcasting coin.
Here's my question. Why would anyone ever want a cameo from Todrick Hall?
I don't have an answer for that.
The other thing I liked was, I like the idea. If this was not producer driven, if this was something that came out of the room, the auditions for the role, if 2 or more want the role, was so clever and so great. I have things to say about that, but and how the editors did Denali dirty, but still a great idea. I loved it. The thing I didn't like, I'm with you. I believe the show, the Rusical is horrible, and the people behind the show ruined the idea of the Rusical. It was horrible. Horrible. It's horrible. It's even better than the Pharma Rusical or whatever. Remember that one?
Oh God.
Yeah.
What season was that? 9?
No. I want to say that was maybe 11. Maybe it might have been last year. What was the Rusical last year? Someone in the Discord will tell us. But the Pharma Rusical was horrible.
Last year was Madonna.
Oh, last year
that was the that was the whole thing with Anne.
So it must have been season 11 then. A horrible Rusical about pharmacy, which is so funny because now maybe they were saving this for UK or something like that. Don't you think they would have done like Prince Harry and Meghan leaving the royal family or something, or like what kind of? I like it when celebrity dramas are okay, or icons is fine. Like I would have loved to have seen a Dolly Parton the Rusical.
That's exactly what I was thinking, but I feel like they used that for the celebrity drag race, where they did that thing with like the one where Vanessa Williams was her in 9 to 5 or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So but I was sitting here thinking before, like, who else could they do? What gay icon could they do that they could do a Rusical about? that is still a celebration of, like, you could do Judy Garland, but that would get real dark real fast.
Yeah.
But I mean, doing something like,
but if I did Judy Garland, have Jinx's guy come on and say he killed her. Remember season 5?
I think I killed Judy Garland.
Jinx's makeover vet that gave vets, and it was Jinx's makeover vet said, Ru comes to the table, and she's like, hi, and he goes, I think I killed Judy Garland. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, there are other things that they could do that would be, I think, a lot better than what they did.
What are your thoughts on this Liza Minnelli?
I don't really have thoughts on Liza Minnelli. I mean, I know that she's around. I know that she's talented. I know that she's beloved, but I don't know that I've ever really heard a full Liza Minnelli song. I don't know that the only movies that I've ever seen her in are the Arthur movies with Dudley Moore.
Yeah.
But I'm not necessarily, I get that she has kind of become a caricature of herself. And even that the original Liza Minnelli was sort of a caricature of her mother. But
I asked this because, gay people, we get to choose our icons. And I feel that we choose icons on different criteria. Okay, Taylor keeps looking at the clock. I keep seeing him. We're going to get out by 1.
I am looking at the Discord. I have the Discord up on one computer, and I have my laptop where I'm looking at you. And Humble Pie is posting pictures of Liza Minnelli.
Okay, and Liza Minnelli lies.
I'm a grown ass woman.
Yeah.
If I want to look at a watch, I can look at a watch. I said what I said.
Anyway, so don't try it, little girl. Anyway, what I was going to say is, I feel in my idea that gays just choose their icons based on different criteria. Some of them, they just like people who are just hot messes, right? And then they people like who are very talented. And so that's why I think Judy Garland is one of the most ultimate icons, because she's a fucking train wreck of a mess, but she's also very talented. But I had always assumed, based on my personal opinion, that Liza Minnelli, though she was her daughter, was more iconic because she was just a fucking crazy ass mess. But my boyfriend, who's just discovered Liza Minnelli, he thinks she's very talented and a very good singer, and he's in love with her. And I'm like, I'm making a face of like shock, like we look at the same performance, and I see a mess. I see oh my God, look at this crazy person flouncing all over the stage. And he's like, she's iconic. And I was like, oh, well, okay. Well, there you go.
Well, but Humble Pie in the chat room just asked if I've seen Arrested Development. Yes, I have seen Arrested Development as well.
I loved her Arrested Development.
Yeah, but she's great in that. But I think that the reason that she's as great as that is because she's kind of leaning into the mess.
And the writers are writing for it.
Yeah. With her Vertigo and everything like
Lucille
that.
too.
I want to watch Arrested Development.
Yeah, but I just like with The Godfather, to me, there's only 2 seasons of that show. That's it.
Yeah, the diminishing returns.
Maybe the 3rd season, right? Because that's when it gets. This is not the Arrested Development recap. All right. After Lala's elimination, Utica calls out Olivia's hairline. Denali shares her bitterness from lack of recognition from the judges, and Simone notes that one of the girls from the winner's circle has been eliminated. The next day, Candy proposes the remaining queens all move in together after the season before RuPaul enters the workroom to announce this week's Maxi Challenge. Social media, the unauthorized Rusical. The girls will sing and dance to an original musical about social media. In the workroom, the queens hash out the roles they will play. Simone claims the role of Miss Instaglam. Tina chooses to be the MC. Denali and Utica argue over the role of Lady Tweets, but Utica sticks to her guns. Rosé and Denali hold a mini audition for the role of Foxy. The girls take a vote, and Rosé wins. Later, the queens have a video call with Oscar winner Anne Hathaway, who gives them advice on performing in a musical. A lot to cover, Taylor.
Yeah.
But to use a social media term, TikTok. So,
you're welcome. You're welcome for that gift that you could just beat to death with the whole I need to be out of here by 1. I thought that there were parts of this that I liked, like we talked about before. I liked the fact that that Utica stuck to her guns. That Utica was very much of the recognizing that I'm letting people walk past me, and there's a way that I can do that where I can hold on to the role that I want and just say, this is mine. I've already said that I'm going to take this, and I thought that was very strong on Utica's part. That was a good thing for her to do. As far as the voting thing goes, I would like to see them. I feel like we have talked about that before. I feel like we talked about before in previous seasons, rather than have two girls fight it out, where the other girls have to decide, take a vote on who gets that whatever the particular role is. Mm-hmm. The only problem I could see with that is if it becomes like a popularity contest, if one of the more popular queens or one of the more social queens wants something but doesn't necessarily worthy of the role, mm-hmm. I could see where that could be a problem. But then ultimately, if they're doing this sort of as a group challenge, that could come back to bite them all in the ass.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take this a little piece by piece here. Let's talk about the first act right after Lala's elimination. In confessional, we hear Utica talking about how, she was disappointed seeing that Olivia won based on that character. And by the way, if you listen to the last episode, I don't think Olivia should have won, but all right. And that what she would have done with that character. And also seeing what Utica did in the last episode, I don't know if that would have been the case either. But that said, she has these feelings that she says that she feels comfortable saying in confessional. But in person, she's like smiles and sunshine and rainbows. And it struck me, and everyone should know Taylor the Latte Boy wrote a best-selling book about 10 years ago called The Tears of a Clown by Taylor Latte Boy DDS about this very topic I'm going to talk about. So I want to get his opinion. I feel I've known people like this, and there's somebody we know too who's I feel like this, where they have like that, ha ha ha, everything's great. Everything's sunshine and roses. I'm super happy. Taylor's giving me the finger right now. And, I'm super, super happy. I'm smiling. I'm sunshine. Everyone thinks of this person. But we know that the truth is that they are dark murderers, right? Behind the scenes. And I kind of feel Utica gave us a peek. And in my experience, I'm not just talking about the mutual friend that I know. Like, there was this girl that I knew where I used to work with named Julie, who she would like have like unicorns on her desk and Care Bears on her screen. But behind the scenes was one of the darkest people. If you knew her privately, she would share her deepest, darkest, I hope this person dies kind of feelings. But in person in the office, she was like smiles and sunshine. I also know, it's kind of funny, a gay guy on my Facebook, who, his name's Larry, and Larry is always like, have a smile and sunshine. But he actually, what I love about Larry is he does it in the post. So it'll be like one of the bitmojis of him smiling and laughing. Mm-hmm. And you think, have a smile and sunshine day, everything. Even if the world's got you down, even if the guy that you met on Grindr steals your credit cards and now you have no money, you have to explain to the credit card company, and your landlord, who's also your ex-boyfriend, doesn't understand it, and he wants to kick you out, and he won't even give you a few more weeks. I just go to the Lord, I just pray to the Lord, and he just gives me a smile and sunshine day, everybody. And you're like, oh, there's a lot to unpack there, Larry. Yeah. So, since you wrote Tears of a Clown, do you get that sense from Utica?
I get that sense from really all the contestants.
Interesting.
And I think that's sort of what the mirror moments are for most of them. I think that a lot of them, when they are talking about stuff, there is a lot of darkness. I think with entertainers, I think the reason that all entertainers entertain is because they are trying to unleash something, or they are trying to make the world a positive place because of the negativity that they've had. Mm-hmm. Whatever that experience is. And a perfect example would be, you look at a lot of comedians. A lot of comedians are all about trying to make people laugh and trying to bring joy to the world, but they have very dark, whether they suffer from depression or they have very dark pasts, and there's a lot of, drug and alcohol abuse that goes along with comedy. I think drag queens are sort of an offshoot of that. And when we see a lot of these queens, especially queens that are trying to be super campy and super fun, there tends to be a dark underside to their personalities or their experiences, and that is what they have found, this place where they can release themselves in drag, where they can maybe, we talked about Simone last week, talking about the fact that she uses Simone to say all the things that she would like to be able to say and act the way she would like to be able to act that she feels as though she can't do when Simone is presenting as boy, because that person has to be perfect all the time. I think we're seeing this. I think we see this with a lot of the queens that we have experienced on the show before, and Utica is no different.
All right, very good. See, guys, this is why his books are bestsellers. Tears of a Clown, available on Amazon. I also wanted to talk, on the flip side, as we learned, and as I was very amused by, is Denali talks about how frustrating it is that once again she was overlooked, just safe. She's the one getting frustrated because she feels that. Now, by the way, I don't know if I agree with her that her look was hands down the best look on the runway, but she feels that way. And it was so interesting because as we've learned that Denali is Latinx, okay. And what's funny is she looked, I don't know why, but in particular this episode, her Latinx-ness, I felt looks-wise came out more, which actually made me find her very attractive because I find Latinx people very attractive being Latinx. And so she was more attractive than usual to me today. But I wonder if that, but as also as a person of color, if there is something that she feels about being, when you're a person of color, being overlooked. I'm not saying that this is happening here, but I wouldn't be surprised because I felt this too. And I was just talking about this with somebody else this week about something they were going through, is that when you're a person of color, whether you're black, whether you're Latino or Latinx, or any ethnicity, you have to, and I know it's hard for, I was actually talking, my friend Adam, who's white, we were talking about the latest episode of the Reply All podcast where they're covering Bon Appetit. And Adam is, I wouldn't necessarily call Adam, my friend, woke, but is very, very, very sensitive to the plight of people of color. And even he was having trouble understanding a certain part of that podcast where he had come to me saying, can you talk to me about this? Right? About someone feeling overlooked. He's all, cause I'm having trouble understanding it. And I was saying, and maybe it's not this one incident that they're covering in Bon Appetit, but when you get used to always being overlooked or always being ignored, every instance seems like you're being ignored because of your race, even if it's not. And I'm not saying Denali's not even going there, but I feel this is pure speculation on my part and maybe I'm projecting as a member of the Latinx community, that the feelings she's expressing are what a person of color is used to, that you have to be like, even when you're performing at your best, to be recognized, you have to perform even more. Now, Taylor, you are married to a Latinx person. Not only that, you wrote 5 years ago the award-winning book "Cómo Estás Bien" by Taylor the Latte Boy, DDS. What are your thoughts on this?
Which wasn't a problematic title at all for a white male to write a book about that. It makes sense. It makes sense. I can't necessarily speak to that as a white person, but I mean, you've said that in the past about other queens of color, and this is an example of that. Especially when we're seeing at this point, it really had been the two that had been sort of left behind, or the perception of left behind, were Denali and Rosé, and now we're seeing Rosé, go up a little bit. So then that means that the last one that's left that hasn't really had that moment since the very first episode is Denali. So it makes sense. It makes sense to me.
Well, what's
very
funny,
astute observation that I, as a white person, would never probably make, because
there'd be no reason.
That.
Yeah. And that's what Adam was coming to me with. He was coming, we could talk about off the air what he was talking about specifically. This is not the Bon Appetit recap show, but he was talking about something that happened on there, and to him, he goes, that's happened to me. And I go, whatever. Okay. Calm down. But speaking of going next is in the next part, Joey J is talking about his own thing. And it's not that white people who Rosé. Rosé. I wrote Joey J. Rosé is sort of sharing the same kind of thing, a kind of emotion. But Rosé has, I wonder if it's one of these things, because I know a lot of gay people like this, you're type A gay, where they are just, they push and push and push and push and push, you know, they're never good enough. And there's somebody we know who I feel has that, who's a type A gay like that. But they just keep going, because I feel, and this is where you can talk about it, just because, not because you're a therapist, but also because you wrote the book, Look at Me, Mommy, by Taylor the Latte Boy, DDS. But do you think as a childhood that they want to be like, they didn't get enough parental attention, or what, but why do specifically gay people have this?
Well, okay, but I could also say that, I mean, your theory as far as with Denali being Latinx, that could also apply to Denali's experience in ice skating. I mean,
True.
Ice skating is super competitive, and they, where, you know, starting at a very young age, you practice and practice and practice and practice for hours at a time, and that becomes your life, and you're only as good as the last score that you had.
Mm-hmm.
So for her to have won the first main challenge
Mm-hmm.
and then not really have the scores that were high enough, it may be a combination of that with the feelings from being Latinx as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that when we have these type A personalities, that, you know, everything has to go the way that it's supposed to go, because it didn't go that way before.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Where, you know, growing up, maybe we didn't get the life that we wanted to, or we started off like Rosé did, where Rosé explained that the singing started at a very early age, and his Rosé's parents got him enrolled in various schools and stuff, and that eventually he became Rosé. You know, that's another world, the competitive world of theater and, you know, the arts. You're talking about two people that it sounds like from a very young age have been go, go, go all the time. So it makes sense that has been bred into them, to where I have to be at the top of the game. I have to get the starring role. I have to win the particular challenge, whether it's Minnie or Maxie. And eventually I have to be the one. I have to, not I want to. I have to be the one who wins season 13.
Mm-hmm. But it's not any kind of parental lack. Like, I want, maybe with ice skating, there's this love that there's a lack. I need maybe coach's love, or daddy's love, or mommy's love. I have to keep going.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant, is that, you know, I mean, you've got somebody where, like with Rosé, it sounds like her parents were very supportive.
Yeah.
But then does that support turn into, you're looking at something like where there's very supportive parents, and then there's like toddlers and tiara parents, or like the dance moms type thing, of where it's people and I'm not suggesting that this is what Rosé's parents may have just been, we want you to be happy. Mm-hmm. But any of those shows like that, it always seems like it is wish fulfillment on the parents' part, where they are living their lives, or what they could have had through their children. So they push their children harder because they want to be responsible for winning the trophy that they couldn't win when they were a kid.
But you know, it sort of reminds me of just earlier this week. I sent my current boyfriend Aiden a picture of my 90s boyfriend, my first real boyfriend. Mm-hmm. There was a picture. I go, oh my God, he's so 90s, right? But we were talking about him, and I was saying, because I think Aiden asked, oh, well, where is he now? And I was like, oh, married with children. Right? But he was one of these type A gays, even then, where he was, like, I remember when we talked about it, and when we hadn't broken up, but it just came up in a conversation where I think he had talked about he didn't think he could ever be with a man forever. And when I asked, he was, it doesn't fit into my plan. My plan is to be married with children. And I wonder if, that doesn't fit in his plan. I'm not going to put the picture in Discord, but I'll put it in the little Hangouts version. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah. But it didn't. So like I said, it didn't fit into his plan. So that's why we broke up. Like literally when he was going to junior college and we dated. When he got into UCLA, that was it. He broke up.
Yeah.
And he invited me to, here's some more drama. He invited me to his wedding, and I went. Right. and it was a destination in Santa Barbara wedding, right? It wasn't really a destination, but whatever. So then at the hotel, we all in the same hotel. He came to my room the night before the wedding. Nothing scandalous happened. He just said, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you how much it meant to me that you came, and I want to make sure you're okay," and everything like that. And I was like, "No, I'm fine," you know. And he's like, "Okay, just wanted you to know, and that it doesn't diminish what happened between us, and blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Okay." And then
you think that was a preemptive so that you didn't stand up in the middle of the wedding and go, I suck his dick.
like I'm at the graduate, I'm at the window banging, you know. And so, anyway, what's so funny is at the wedding, let me rephrase it. No, it really is. It's actually not his brother. It's his cousin. His cousin, who's a professional dancer, right? Had a conversation with me where he said, he's straight. I believe him. Years later, he's never, but he was like, because in the field that I work in, it's the thing is to be gay. He's like, I wish I was gay. My life would be so much easier if I were gay. He's like, I tried, but it's just not for me. And I was like, you can try one more time.
I was going to say.
Yeah, but he didn't. Stupid.
If only there was someone who could convince me.
Yeah.
If only there was somebody here at this wedding table that I could try to be gay with.
Yeah.
If only there was somebody who would follow me over to the closet.
Yeah. No, we all have a hotel room. Oh, I dropped my key card. Anyway.
I dropped the key card to room 423.
Well, yeah, he didn't take me up on it. All right. There's another part too where RuPaul says, well, we take the phones away from you so you're focused on the competition. I'm like, no, it's not. You take their phones away so they're not on social media telling everyone what happened on the show.
Right.
Stupid lie that they tell on the show. They take their phones away so they can focus on the competition. Also later, Utica stands up for herself and claims what she wants, which you complimented her on, and I'm very proud that she did that. I want to go back to this Denali. There's a lot of Joe telling old stories. She looks more Latin, but she also reminds me of, I would say this is my first, when I was very little, maybe like less than 10, older than 5, right? Somewhere in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And my
elementary school age.
Yeah. My dad has 2 brothers who are not a lot younger than him, but like when I was 5, he was like 20, right? So like 15 or 16 years older than me, right?
Okay.
They're like 5 or 6 younger than my dad, 6 years younger than my dad. So they were like cool to me, right? And, when I was at my grandma's house, he had a friend, because that's where he grew up, that lived around the corner, and he would take me there, and this friend looked exactly like Denali. Now when I see Denali, I'm like, oh my God, he looks so much like Tony, right? Who was a Mexican guy. And Tony would wear these like no underwear, loose sweatpants, and even as a kid, I noticed that his schlong was just hanging out, and I was just like, like, I mean, I still distinctly remember and I'm eye level with it.
This made is the one where the babysitter's getting out of the car and Homer Simpson finds the gummy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what. And again, like, yeah. So there's that, and then finally, so Denali was bringing. Maybe that's why I'm so into Denali. That she was bringing back some very nascent memories for me as a young gay. And then finally,
with early developmental stuff.
Yeah, let's actually get to Anne Hathaway. And this predates Drag Race or anything like that. I hate Anne Hathaway.
I knew you were going to say that last night. I feel like there's been some backlash for Anne. Like, she was really beloved, and then something happened, and isn't she like supposedly a nightmare? So like on set,
I've never heard that. I think she's nice. In fact, that's what the thing I was going to say is. She's talked about this too. There have been articles written about this, about the unfounded hatred for Anne Hathaway, and she knows about it. And I think it's bothered her. I don't know what it is. This is something I've also talked about with my boyfriend, because my boyfriend loves Anne Hathaway. I'm like, I don't know what it is. I do not blame Anne Hathaway for this. This is the one thing I will say. It's not like Todrick or, who's that horrible, you know who, all the people I hate, right? Where I have reason to hate them. I have no reason to hate Anne Hathaway. There's just something about her stupid face that I just hate her. I hate her. I can't, anything she's in. I mean, I did like Devil Wears Prada, but that's because the character was so her, you know? But I like Meryl
She always seems to play the same character, though. Like, that is sort of where she's always, I'm plucky and I'm, you know, trying to get, like, that's Amy Adams to me. Anything Amy Adams is in, she just strikes me as someone who's constantly, where at some point they'll do a close up of where her lip will be quivering. Like, that's just any Amy. So I just have gotten to where if a movie has Amy Adams in it, I'm kind of like, nope.
Here's the deal. Amy Adams doesn't bother me. There's I just saw there was a talk show clip of her recently, Anne Hathaway, saying that no one calls her Anne in real life. That's just her, you know, that's the name she uses. They call her Annie. And I was just like, ugh. Man, what a dumb, innocuous story to be mad about, right? And I was just like, ugh, shut up, Anne Hathaway.
This sounds more about you than Anne Hathaway.
I know. I'm acknowledging that. I'm acknowledging this is about me. What am I bringing to the table?
Okay, so then if you had Anne Hathaway in front of you, what would you say to her? To try to hit, not what horrible things would you say at her, but what would you say to try to connect with Anne Hathaway on a different level?
I'd be polite to her, and I'm sure that if I met her, I would like her. I'd be polite, you know. Look, here's the deal. I
didn't think you'd walk up to her at a Starbucks and go, "Fuck you, Anne Hathaway." I mean, I don't think that would be what would happen. But I mean, if this is something where you recognize this is about you and not about her, Luke in the chat room just said he can't stand Matthew McConaughey, and I feel the way about Matthew McConaughey that you feel about Anne Hathaway.
You know what? I've been wanting to do this, which you hate, Taylor. When I think there's a podcast that we like that does. Oh no, it's that YouTube guy, that the Animal Kingdom guy that I like that you don't like. Mayor Mori.
Yeah. Animal Crossing.
So when I say Animal Kingdom, Animal Crossing guy. Mm-hmm. But he does a thing. Hi guys, it's me. Hey YouTube.
Hi, it's me.
Anyway, what I'm saying is, hey, if you're listening, why don't you tweet us, at us at Drag Race Recap on Twitter, and tell us what celebrities you just can't stand on there. By the way, don't put at Joe Betance. All right. You can put at Taylor the Latte Boy, though. Okay.
PIMC Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
You can tag me that PIMC Taylor with the actors or actresses that you can't stand for no good goddamn reason.
The joke I was making that they would say me.
Oh.
But and do it in the Discord, too. In the Discord, put the actors or actresses that you just don't like for any good goddamn reason. Anne Hathaway is probably number one for me.
Matthew McConaughey just looks like he smells like armpit. Like that's just, anytime I see him, he just looks like he smells.
Okay. Hit the hashtag. What would the hashtag be, Taylor? No, just add us at Drag Race Recap, at Joe Betance, at PIMC Taylor. All right, Taylor. Yeah. On that note, why don't we take a break? When we come back, we're going to get into the rest of the show. The girls get together and record their vocals with Michelle Visage. Tina sings with a lot of vibrato. Olivia impresses Michelle with her melisma. Simone finds it hard to say ogle, and Candy acknowledges her lisp. Let's just stop right here and just talk a little bit about this. Did you have anything big to say about the recording session?
No, it seemed very subdued.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't. It was the stuff that we've seen before. A girl can't pronounce a word. Mm-hmm. Somebody who they didn't think really necessarily had the chops did, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that Michelle was particularly Todricky.
No, she wasn't.
You know, she seemed, but I think that also speaks to you recognizing some of the backlash for when she's really lashed out at Queens before. So she's sort of taking a step back from that. The guy who produced the Rusical was just sort of there. I feel like we've seen other ones where they were more involved, particularly I think it's MBNX, the one that's producing a lot of the UK stuff, seemed a little more involved than this producer did. It was okay.
Yeah, one of the things I had before, I thought a lot about the two things I liked about this episode, and originally what I had was, and I even was going to say, give credit where credit's due, I thought Michelle was a very good vocal coach. And I thought she did a good job, and she wasn't super negative, and she was helpful and friendly. I think the show is making a concerted effort to be less of a bully and more, at least appear to be more friendly. And I appreciate it. I think they're seeing where the fan base is going, and the fan base isn't really liking that anymore, and they're trying to be nicer to the queens. And I thought that was good. All right, for the choreography next, the girls work with Jamal Sims on the choreography. Olivia makes sure Jamal knows she can move. Simone gets stuck. Utica gives away her shot. Candy delivers low energy. Rosé slays. Meanwhile, Gottmik struggles to keep up with Denali. Anything you want to say about the choreography?
Again, we've seen this before. A queen really kind of goes where they immediately know that they're doing really well. There's another one that there's the awkwardness. There is the ones that look like they're going to struggle. And then, Gottmik was somebody who they were talking about that Gottmik couldn't keep up with Denali's energy, but then they ended up being where they did great in the Rusical. They show us this. I was listening to another episode. I was listening to an episode of another Drag Race podcast where they know a lot of stuff. I know. I'm not going to say who, but they talk about the fact that they're only really given like where the choreographers show them something one time and then they go, okay, do it. So there is a lot of that. So that way they get that awkwardness on tape, and then they end up rehearsing for like a day or two before.
They usually do the choreography day right before they have like a weekend for the crew. So they have like a few days to then actually practice it.
Yeah. So, but they don't tell us that. They make it look like they rehearse one day, or they get the choreography one day, and then a couple hours later they're expected to know everything.
Yeah, not, and I'm saying this as a compliment, not really much to say about these recording sessions of the choreography. I think what they showed us was a fair representation of what we saw in terms of reality shows. It wasn't it wasn't Todrick being a total fucking asshole to the girls like he is and all that stuff. All right, it's elimination day and the queens get ready for the runway. Simone feels insecure. Candy gives her 2 cents on social media. Tina reveals her Graham Norton relationship, and Denali admits she has crushes on animated characters. Now, there is a lot to unpack here.
Yes.
What were let's talk about it. I know there's some obvious things we need to talk about, but what do you have to say about this elimination day?
Well, I know that at one point when Candy referred to herself as Fat Aja, you immediately came to mind because I know that you had referred to Candy as Fat Aja before. So that was something that social media is, I figured we would talk about just social media in general.
Sure.
And what a blessing and a curse social media is. It's become something where in the beginning it was a lot of fun. And I remember I remember MySpace and having a MySpace account and connecting with, friends and who made it to your top 8 and that sort of thing. And then over time, there is a lot of ugliness to social media, and there is a lot of drama. I see so much drama with adults in my practice with clients who talk about it. And then this one said this to me on Facebook, and then he and I got into a fight and all this sort of stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you're a 52-year-old man and you're doing the equivalent of, arguing with the other kids on the playground before, lunch. There's just something about it that it's just, there's so much of an ugliness and there's so much just hatred that and we've all played a role in that. Some would say this podcast plays a role in that, some of the ugliness, but I also think that there are opportunities to celebrate things in life, and there are things to celebrate. There are ways that we can kind of show what works in the world, and it's definitely a double-edged sword.
It's funny that you bring this up, because everyone should know about a decade ago, Taylor wrote the book, My Space or Yours, the top 8 rules for the older generation with the younger technology. And it's so funny how prescient that book was, Taylor, Latte by DDS, because, I get to see firsthand my parents' relationship with social media, and particularly Facebook. And it's funny how, 10 years ago, the roles were reversed. And the older parents were like, what's with this Facebook? And the kids were just, typing away at the dinner table. And my mom has a very unhealthy relationship with social media where herself, and especially I think amplified by the pandemic, because that's now her connection to the outside world, where a lot of her self-worth comes from what her friends think about whatever dinner she made or what comment she made. And it's weird. My parents, well, what's funny is they're even less savvy than young people, because I feel the younger people now have, I guess, a healthier relationship with social media than people might think, in that they know everything they're seeing isn't reality. They can take or leave. Like, the kids don't use Facebook anymore. It's all old people now. And, but where my mom believes everything she sees on Facebook, she buys into that as being the reality and a picture of their life. And, it's very, very difficult. Very, very, very difficult. I yesterday told my mom, I was the parent, right? Because she was on Facebook the entire time while we were eating dinner. And I had to say, like, are we going to have to get the scene where we're at no screen at the dinner table? And she got really upset. Don't take away her Facebook. We're in the Catholic season, in the Christian season of Lent, and Catholics often give something up. I had recommended social media, and she was absolutely no. Absolutely no. Yeah. Because that's her.
Well,
that's her dopamine.
There have been studies on just that emotional release of serotonin that you get from when you open and you see likes, and whether it's a picture on Facebook or it's a comment or something on Instagram, and it becomes very easy to become addicted to that and to be constantly refreshing and constantly looking to make sure that you get likes. So that's something where your mom posts a picture, of something that she cooked, and she may get, I don't know how many likes. Imagine what that's like for someone whose livelihood depends on likes, like some of the social media queens, or even the queens who are, performing, but they have to advertise, and they advertise on Facebook that they're going to be at this particular club or this particular bar on this one night, and how it becomes such an important part of their career. It's scary to think what it has done to us as a community and as a country. And it's just been, like you said, what you're talking about with your mom, is exacerbated by the fact that for some of us, that is our only connection to the outside world. I mean, your mom doesn't necessarily leave the house at all anymore. So she has become where the only way that she really connects with people is through these comments. So it makes sense that if a friend of hers is saying something to her or posting a picture, one, they're showing the best case scenario. They're showing the best angle of whatever she cooked, or the best, she took 15 pictures of a grandchild, but she's only going to post the one that is the best. Something that I say to clients all the time. So if she's seeing other things, whether it's about politics or whether it's about, whatever, well, if all these other things are true, then this must be true too. And what I've said to clients of mine is nobody ever posts about their upset stomach and the explosive diarrhea they had on Facebook. Yeah. It's always about where we are judging ourselves and we're comparing ourselves to other people who are only posting about the best aspects of their lives and getting tons of likes for it. So if the stuff that I'm doing doesn't get as many likes as the stuff that you're doing, then I must be doing something wrong, even though I'm really doing something right for myself. Yeah. And don't necessarily have to share it. I very rarely share on Facebook and stuff anymore, just because since politics really became such a big part of Facebook, I don't really want anything to do with it anymore. But there is still that if I post something, I do occasionally check to see how many likes it got. And if there's times that, especially pictures with Instagram, where I'm like, well, why did that picture only get, 80 likes where the last one got 120? What's, what am I doing wrong? Then eventually I'm like, no, I have to stop looking at this as something for the rest of the world, but more something for me. My Instagram is now pictures that I want to be able to have someplace where I can go through and look at pictures for myself. And if other people happen to like it, great. But if not, oh well.
Recently we lost in October our Drag Race Recap Instagram account. It got deleted by Instagram. I really don't know why, because they don't tell you. My suspicion is because it happened a day or two after. I just posted this innocuous get out. Someone asked me who was doing a get out the vote thing. Will you post a promotion for this get out the vote? It was not partisan at all. It was just like, go and vote, And I got this mean email from Instagram that they took down the post, that we're not allowed to post political things. And I was like, okay, Fine. And then a day or two later, the whole account was deleted. And I've done the appeals. I've done everything you can find to do all things online. Just they won't give it back. And at first I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then I was like, I don't really need it. The only thing that sucks is we had over 20,000 followers on the Instagram. But even then, like, we got a lot of engagement whenever I did Drag Race related posts. But whenever I promoted the show, meh, you know? So, like, it wasn't really doing anything for us. It was like stroking the ego, you know? Now, I want to address the Fat Aja thing. Some people said that I made that up. I didn't make that up. Reddit called her Fat Aja, and I just thought that was super funny. 1, 2, you said earlier, like, oh, we can be mean. I thought about this a lot. The difference is that I don't subtweet in this essence or tag queens. Like, if they listen to this show, well, then they listen to this show. And by the way, they're free. Right. I'm also saying my real name and your real name, because everyone should know that's your legal name, Taylor the Latte Boy, and my legal name, Joe Betance. They can find me on social media if they have a problem. I think where the social media gets dangerous, and what's so funny is because I have a place where I can spew my hatred, or my positivity as well. Right. But you can confine me, right? And, but
cash Joe outside. How about that?
Yeah. Cash me outside. How about that? And, the thing though is the ugliness with social media are people who hide behind these anonymous walls and say horrible things about you and who you fight back against, and B, make things up. They can easily just make something up about you, and it goes viral and people believe it. But if Aja wants to come fight with me, she's welcome to come fight with me. She can email me at joebetance@afterthought.media, and we will.
Aja or Candy?
Oh, Aja can call me anytime she wants, just for whatever. But Fat Aja, Candy Muse, can call me and communicate with me anytime she wants, and do that. By the way, weird thing. If anyone knows Alaska, could you have her message me? Because I'm going to tell you something, Taylor. I'm going to complain right here. Okay. Almost a year ago, you and I paid a lot of money for some really good tickets to this Drag Queen of the Year pageant, right? And then in May, when it wasn't going to happen, they said, well, you can keep your money rolling until we do it again in September. Then in September, they're like, we're canceling it. They're like, we're going to send you your money back. I paid a lot of money, Taylor, and I never got this money back. Now, I don't blame Alaska. I don't blame her. Okay, it's not her fault. But if anyone knows Alaska, could you please have her contact me? You know what I want? I think what I want is fair. I don't even give me my money back. That's fine. I think what I want is very clear. It's fair. The next time you do Drag Queen of the Year pageant, I want 2 Fierce tickets. I already paid for them.
They're doing one.
They're doing it again?
Yeah. I was going to say, it just got posted in the Discord. So it's returning digitally though.
No. I don't want digital. I'll wait. I'll wait till the next time that they do it live. Right?
Okay.
So someone have Alaska message me. Thank you. Because I would message Alaska, but she's not going to get it. Thank you. All right. Anything else, Taylor, about this elimination challenge?
I don't remember what the
Elimination Day. Sorry.
There was social media.
Oh, the animated characters. Denali, have you ever been attracted to an animated character?
Prince Eric from The Little Mermaid.
Oh, really?
I always thought he was hot. Yeah. There is a guy who does these videos on Twitter, and he apparently has a Patreon called Mr. Xtoon, where he takes Disney characters and he makes like gay porn out of them. Mm-hmm. And a couple of those are where I feel weird like watching them because I'm like, they're actually kind of hot. But it's he did one with Kristoff and Flynn Rider, and one that he's done recently is Tarzan and Milo from Atlantis, and he did one of the older brother from Big Hero 6 like jerking off.
Oh,
like, wow. But he makes they look like Disney. It's Mr. Xtoon on Twitter, and he does a bunch of these videos where he'll post little like segments of them, and they're wow. Yeah. He did one also of Hercules and Aladdin together.
It's so funny. There's somebody I know, I don't know if he wants his name out there or anything like that, who's, anyone who's on Patreon knows who I'm talking about, who's into the animated character thing too. And so I didn't get a chance to ask permission whether I could talk about it. So I won't say who it is. Yeah. But, all right, Taylor, let's go on to the Maxi Challenge, which is, the Rusical itself. I have some thoughts on the Maxi Challenge where we had Tina Burner, but we don't want to go through each character, but did you have any thoughts on it in general?
Honestly, the thing that I said in the beginning, the sound quality was weird to me. There was a lot of them when they were singing, I couldn't understand what they were saying. Mm-hmm. Where particularly like normally when they have recordings, the one that I really noticed was Tina's, where it sounded muffled.
Yeah, it
didn't sound as clear as it normally does. And that might be where they dub in the actual track over the performance. But this one, it's almost sounded like you could hear. They had the speakers playing and Tina was lip syncing to the sound of her own voice through the external speakers in the studio.
Yeah.
So I was not a fan. And then some of them like, Simone's, I couldn't understand what Simone was saying. I have no idea what Candy was talking about in hers in particular.
First of all, I want to say, I know Lucian Piani said some horrible, horrible, racist, terrible things. Some people might even find these things unforgivable, right? From what I've heard, I don't know that Lucian's been laying low but he went through rehab and is on a path of sobriety, and let's all wish him the best,
Absolutely.
And perhaps World of Wonder just doesn't want to, have anything to do with him anymore, which is their prerogative. But man, never, I think I've said this before, have I felt the loss of Lucian Piani more than this week's episode. The music was horrible. It was not even like, I will say this, Lucian was really good at ripping off styles and making them where you could hear it and you would know, oh, he's trying to do this. Right? He's making like a Vita. He's doing a take on a Vita or something, right? And this musical clearly, and I only know this by the costumes and the chairs, was doing some sort of send up of Chicago / Cabaret, of Candor and Ebb musicals. But man, the songs were awful. There wasn't one, this guy couldn't hum a tune out of anything. Right? And it was just really, really, really bad. And I'm not saying it has to be Lucian Piani. I feel they found someone recently who actually could make hummable tunes. And I don't know why they went with these people. It was awful. The songs they wrote were terrible. Literally a first year musical theater composition student could do better than this. Also, it's official. Please stop doing the Tuckahoe joke. Okay.
I thought of that. When Tuckahoe University, I groaned.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we've seen it for 10 years.
Shit, when there are those stupid jokes like that, that's where you hear Rue laugh.
Yeah.
So that's clearly her wheelhouse as far as comedy goes. But it's the same stuff, where anytime she does the thing where she like wipes the corners of her mouth kind of like, there's just very much where she's not beyond, she's never really evolved beyond that particular level of comedy.
Yeah, but also the writers haven't, and like I said, I got some inside tea. I don't know who wrote this music, actually. I don't want to speculate. Anyway, by the way, really, really, the editors and the producers and post-production, everybody, but the editors in particular, they're not even subtle now trying to tell us how we're supposed to feel. Like, between everything is like, if they're smiling, we know that they liked it, and if they're not smiling, then it was terrible. Like, Candy Muse was terrible. You could tell that. Apart from them showing us the judges being unhappy with Simone, I can't really tell why Simone was any better than Elliot, let's say. I didn't really understand what the problem with Simone. I know that Jamal talked about like being off a step or something like that on the count or something, but like, I'm sure there were other people who weren't necessarily nailing the choreography. But like Simone seemed fine. I'm not even saying she was great, but why was it better or worse than anybody else? I don't know. Apart from them telegraphing it with their faces during the editing segment.
Because what we don't know with the girls that were safe, ultimately you have the top three, you have the bottom three, and you have the middle three. You don't know where of those three. Obviously somebody, if they go by score. Mm-hmm. Somebody has the top scores and somebody has the lowest scores, but you don't know where they fall in between. Elliot, that was a weird performance, I thought. And it felt very low energy to me, but this might have been the difference between Simone and Elliot might have just been where Elliot had enough to where she got fourth from last and Simone was third from last. It might have been where that could have been one person's score. We don't know how close it really was between Elliot and Simone. If Elliot was like fourth from last kind of thing.
I think there's just some chicanery going on here. And what I mean is, that look, they clearly wanted to know that they were clearly going to do a double Shantae. Okay, they were just going to do it. And so like, okay, we'll do it this episode. So they needed to put two people up where in theory the lip syncs would be close. If they did Elliot versus Candy, even though I don't think this would have been true, but then they were like, well, we can't justify the double Shantae. But if we put Simone, who's clearly been crushing it, versus Candy, we can justify the double Shantae. I'm not necessarily going to agree with it with the end product, but I think that was the justification there. Because I don't think Simone did anything that was worthy of being in the bottom two, and for definitely lip syncing. Next, this Candy. Now, Candy, you see her performance, this bitch can't lip sync. Like, it was horrible. She was not even trying. Like,
right.
She has enunciation. She has lazy mouth anyway, just the way she speaks in general, right? She doesn't enunciate. Mm-hmm. And then B, in her lip syncing is even worse. It just seemed like she did not know the words at all. And I feel in her lip syncs.
Could that be part of why she was constantly flipping her hair and everything? So it's sort of, yeah.
That's what I was going to say is she's in her lip sync. She constantly does that thing where she walks to the back of the stage and she's hiding. She has big flowy things. She's hiding her face. We're on to her. We know she doesn't know the words. And I'm not, and if I know this, then you know the judges know this, right? They know what she's doing. And then finally, I love that when they were talking to Anne Hathaway, Tinta asks her, Anne, can you give me advice on a death scene? And then Anne Hathaway gives some non-advice, right? Did you see her death scene? Like, did she think it was going to be like a real death scene that she was going to be doing? Like, it was
weird.
A cartoon. No, and fine. It was like, why would Anne Hathaway go like, act like a cartoon? Like, what? She had a cartoonish death scene. Why would it was so dumb. It was so silly. All right, but those are my thoughts on the musical. It was horrible. The end. All right, Taylor, now it's time for the looks.
The looks, okay.
The looks. What are your thoughts here on the looks, Taylor?
Well, everybody wore yellow.
Yeah.
So that makes it easy as far as I don't have to explain what everybody's wearing. But I thought the looks were all, for the most part, very, very strong. We can go through each look individually. The first look that came down the runway was Tina Burner, who came in a taxi cab inspired look with big lit up headlights and a long train that was all yellow with the black and white checkerboard as trim. I thought the look was great. I thought that it was fun. It definitely spoke to the color yellow. It was a good look.
Yeah, it was a good look, a very strong look. I was very surprised she was in the bottom. I think they were short on bottom, aren't we all? Mm-hmm. But her performance, apart from that thing where she didn't carry out the whole note at the end, right? Mm-hmm. Like, she was fine in the musical challenge, and this look was good. I think she deserved anything to be safe. I was kind of surprised she was in the bottom.
Well, but she may have been. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she was the one where they had to come up with somebody, and they figured this is something where it gives Tina. We haven't really seen Tina sweat at all yet.
Yeah.
So this is something where we can see how she does with it. It might have been just an experiment on the part of the producers.
Speaking of sweat,
Olivia Lux. Yeah, that was weird to see Olivia Lux's sweat through a t-shirt during the performance. That was odd. She comes out in a beautiful yellow gown, with big puppy sleeves, or I don't know what you would call those sleeves, bracelets, whatever you want to call. She looked gorgeous. I think this is my favorite look of the night.
Oh, wow.
Very, 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 very pretty. I loved her hair. She looked like a member of a Motown girl group. And just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
All right.
Simone came out in a yellow, I don't know what you would call this. Like a fur coat with thigh-high boots and suspenders with leggings, not leggings, but I don't know what you call them, but and yellow hair. This was probably my least favorite look of all the looks. It read very boy to me. I think because of the suspenders just kind of covering the nipples, and I just wasn't a fan of this. I normally love Simone, but this was not a strong look for me as far as I'm concerned.
All right.
So Utica comes out in a 14th century inspired dress with that is all yellow with a patchwork skirt, and I thought this was very Utica. I thought this definitely speaks to her brand. While it wasn't necessarily my favorite look, I could appreciate that she was doing something different, and that there was also other little pops of color. Everybody else kind of went straight through with the yellow, but I see some blacks in there and even a little bit of like red and orange in there. But I'm glad to see that she did this. It was a great look.
Okay.
So Candy Muse came out in a Beyonce inspired dress with sunflowers in her hair. And as much as I am not a fan of Candy Muse, I thought she looked really pretty here. I enjoyed the flowiness during the runway. We'll get to the lip sync later. And I thought that this was her showing some real beauty here. So this to me was actually a pretty good look.
All right, very good.
So Elliot with two T's was the second of the outfits that was inspired by a taxi cab, though hers was definitely more 80s inspired with the big shoulder pads and the bodice, tight plastic or pleather pants, all yellow with crazy hair. Between this one and Tina's, I liked this one more. I thought this one was sexier. The other one was campier, whereas I thought this was sexier. And I think Elliot is very cute. So that is why I like this one more.
Mm-hmm.
Rosé came out in an outfit inspired by the movie The Mask, with the green face, which I thought also works for her face because her face is so square that I thought it was a smart move on her part. I do agree with Michelle. This look was orange. This was not yellow. And the more you looked at it, especially when she's standing up next to all of the other girls, it was clearly orange. But it was a fun, again, speaking kind of to what Tina did, a fun, campy look that had some creativity to it. Next up is Denali. Denali came out in a outfit inspired by the snake that Britney Spears carried through the I'm a Slave for You performance from the MTV Awards back like 20-something years ago. She did an amazing headdress, in a bodysuit that was, I guess, snakeskin inspired. It was okay. It was a little underwhelming compared to everybody else, but the headset or the headdress was incredible. Do you have anything to add to any of these?
No.
Anything that you liked? Anything that you're sort of like?
The one thing I'll say, I wonder if with Rosé's look, if it really was yellow, but they didn't account for the lighting. If you look at it, it could be a thing where the lighting just made it look orange, and the designer didn't account for that.
That is very true. I am going to say though, especially at the bottom picture, all of the looks that were given to us in the Discord, when you compare it to all the others, it is clearly orange. And there was a scene in Untucked where they were all sitting together, and when you looked at it that way, you're like, oh yeah, no, that is orange. But that also, the lighting in Untucked, I think, is very different than the lighting on the runway.
Everyone should know we have a picture where we have all of them in front of us. But look at her on this panoramic picture, and then look at Tina. Does the shade look much different from Tina's color?
That to me is different though, because Tina's further off to the side, so that she is standing in a darker lighting, whereas Rosé is kind of standing in the middle.
But you're making my point that I think it's a lighting thing. I'm not saying that. In other words, the designer should have known and accounted for the lighting. Is what I'm saying.
I can see. I mean, it is definitely in the yellow, but it is a yellow orange compared to whereas I feel everybody else had a lemon yellow or a canary yellow.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. So last up is Gottmik, who came out as a crash test dummy. We saw a crash test dummy outfit a couple of weeks ago from Denali, so it's funny that we've had two this season. And it is sort of a very punk look with great makeup and a headdress, like a high pony with, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, if that's supposed to be ribbon or what, but it was a fun look. Definitely spoke to the challenge, and that's really all the looks.
All right.
Everybody was yellow.
Once there was this boy who liked to make the lattes and talk about the looks, but when his co-host was quiet, he'd get real mad and said he had to leave at 1. We couldn't quite believe it. We thought he'd just stay there. Anyway. All right. Anyone under 35 does not get that joke. Okay. Do you think there's anyone that's under 40 that gets that joke?
Probably not. It's that I hated that song.
Oh, I hated it too. I hated that song too.
Yeah.
Dude, what do you think that guy's doing now? Like, is he like a substitute teacher somewhere telling them, guys, I had a hit song in the early 90s?
I did.
Like,
No, he's working in a. He's working at like a shit. I can't like some sort of like antique shop or something like that.
Okay.
Where he's surrounded by musty stuff all day.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Well, anyway, Taylor, those are the looks. The looks. All right. Very good. Back on the main stage, Olivia, Utica, and Elliot are safe. Rosé wins, and Tina, Candy, and Simone are in the bottom 3. RuPaul lets Tina off the hook, leaving Simone and Candy in the bottom 2 and forced to fight in a lip sync battle for their lives. The song Boss by Fifth Harmony. In the end, Simone lives to see another day while Candy Muse is asked to sashay away, but just as Candy is about to reach the exit, RuPaul calls her back and saves her from elimination. Taylor the Latte Boy, any final thoughts on the episode? Is there anything we missed? Anything in your notes that you want to share with us?
The lip sync to me,
Sure.
was subpar.
Yeah.
On both Queen's parts, but it also at one point I thought this is an actual visual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is an actual visual representation of chaos versus order, where I feel like Simone definitely knew the words, and Simone was definitely where she was very Coco Montrese with the cold-hearted snake. Like, look at you can see that I know all of the words here, and I'm going to move in a way that you can see that I know everything. Whereas I felt like Candy was, especially with that outfit that she had on, she was just it was messy. It was sloppy. It was just like rolling around on the ground and stuff. It made me uncomfortable. There was nothing, because we've seen that before with girls where they're kind of all over the place, but there's something fun to it. Mm-hmm. But it was so chaotic, and so I just didn't like it. I feel between the two, Simone, even though she was not as all over the place, I see where they kept Simone initially versus Candy. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? I
actually think Simone did very well in this lip sync. I thought it was a very good, passable lip sync. You're right. She knew the words.
Passable. Yes.
Yeah. Like, look, is it the greatest thing ever? No, look, on Drag Race, I'm a little behind on Drag Race UK, but I was watching Drag Race UK episode 3, and this one girl's like, anyone who comes before me is going to get eliminated, right? And then she goes home, right? And I was like, right. but what I was thinking about that particular lip sync in episode 3, season 2, is I was like, it was a passable lip sync, I'll be honest with you. But I was like, for Drag Race UK, that was the best lip sync, at least so far, that I've ever seen on that show, because they're horrible lip syncers, okay? Simone, I thought, gave a decent, get the job done lip. It was a workman lip sync, right? You know, she got it done. But that said, what in my book was head and shoulders above Candy Muse. What Candy Muse was a big, giant fucking mess, right? She did the Eureka kick. Thank you to the editors for putting that confessional line in, because I thought, here we go, the fat person kick, you know, to show that they can move, you know?
Right.
And Ben Candy also, it's funny because Candy's lip synced enough that we know all her tricks. She's always going to clap her hand at the big moment on the thing. She's always going to fall on the floor. I mean, we've seen all the tricks. She does not know the words. She
walked all the way to the back of the stage again to give
multiple times. Multiple times, and hiding things with her sleeves, all, you know, doing armography so you don't see her face as much. And then also just falling to the floor, just hiding her face and then just not knowing the words. Whereas clearly Simone really was on top of the words. 1. 2, you're right. It was order versus chaos. Candy was essentially, if I told my nieces, do a lip sync to this song, I don't think they'd do anything much different. You know?
Yeah.
Because I don't think she prepared.
Yeah.
I don't think she prepared. So, there was a very famous Hollywood producer, and his big saying in his autobiography, he says it multiple times, it's clearly his, there's always time for a cocktail, was luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Okay. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And I think this was the case, is Simone showed up prepared. That might even be your compliment and criticism towards Simone. And she's so prepared where sometimes there's no spontaneity in what she does, you know? Yeah. But in this case, it worked. Candy Muse should have 100% gone home. 100% should she have gone home. And they only saved her because that's what was going on in the producer storyline, and they want to keep her. There are these people that RuPaul and the producers fall in love with because they give it, like, I'll be honest with you. You know, I'm famous for the, I hate Candy, and that hasn't gone away. But what I will say is, if Candy Muse leaves the show is going to be 100% more boring.
I thought that before she called her back, I thought, well, who's going to be the conflict now?
No.
You can see them sort of planting the seed of Rosé and Tina, because that seems like that was forgotten about from episode 1. But when they were doing the vote in the beginning of the episode where she's like, I 100% did that to fuck with Rosé's head, which I'm like, okay, how is that fucking with her head if, you're one of 2 people that voted, whatever. Yeah. But there really isn't much conflict between any of the other girls, or the potential for conflict, at least at this stage in the game.
Okay, I'm going to say something that might be kind of controversial here. Okay. You're supposed to demonstrate charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Okay? Simone is clearly the front runner. I feel she has nerve and talent in spades. She's a little weak on the uniqueness, but not too much, right? But she doesn't... the charisma is her weak spot. And and I'll be honest with you, with the remaining queens, that's sort of the problem with all the remaining queens. Okay? Is they're sort of low on the charisma. Elliot with 2 T's, believe it or not, I would actually give a high mark on the charisma. But, on the talent part, not so much.
Okay, but you want
on the talent part, not so much. But you get rid of Candy Muse, and that show is going to lose so much in terms of the thrust that the show needs to keep us entertained from a reality show perspective. What I'm saying is, as an actual contestant, Simone is amazing. As an actual reality show character, not so much. And there's actually very few besides Candy Muse. In fact, I can't think of any. What other reality show contestants are there on this show? Who is who's the don't be tardy to the party?
Kim Zolciak.
Yeah, where's her? Where's Nene Leakes? Where's the Countess Luann? We don't have those if you get rid of Candy Muse.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think the closest thing that we had to that other than Candy would be Tamisha.
Yes.
And she's gone.
She's gone.
Tamisha really kind of hit all of the charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent.
Yes.
Particularly on the season. And it is a true loss to us as the viewers that we don't get to see her continue on this show.
Well, no, I'm playing this new game on the New York Times called Tiles, where you have to get rid of, it's not explain it, but the point is you have to think 3 or 4 steps ahead, and that if you use this one, you won't have it in a future thing, right? If you kind of give away this thing and blah, 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 blah. Maybe poker's a little bit like that. And I feel that, I don't know anything about things, but the producers played their hand wrong, and they bet that Tamisha, but when they gave up Tamisha, then they lost the ability to lose Candy.
Right.
So now they're stuck with Candy for as long as possible, I think, because if they lose her, they're fucked.
Yeah, you've got another season 12 of where everybody's walking in nature with children.
Yeah. All right. Well, Taylor, you have a hard out in 2 minutes. So do you have any other final thoughts before I go?
No, not at all.
All right. Well,
Thank
that's
you.
going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next week and every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 13. So, for Taylor the Latte Boy and myself,
Sashay away until next week.
thank you for listening to RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Email us at dragracerecap@afterthought.media. For more Drag Race and LGBTQ content, support us over at Patreon at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can follow Tanner the Latte Boy on Instagram and Twitter at PIMC Taylor. Follow Joe Betance on Instagram at Joe Betance. That's JoeBetance. This episode was produced by Luke Stamen. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.